At my wedding rehearsal, my fiancée's sister said, "Enjoy it while you can. She's still texting Brandon." She didn't deny it. So I called the venue, canceled everything, and sent the bill to her mom. My name's Jake. I'm 29 years old. I work in commercial architecture, and until exactly one night before my wedding, I thought I had everything in order. I'm not the kind of guy who makes reckless choices. Childhood taught me that. My dad bailed when I was 10. My mom juggled 2 jobs and 3 stress-related conditions until I graduated high school. I've always taken pride in planning, stability, structure, safety. So when I met Megan at a mutual friend's housewarming, it felt like I'd finally met someone who got that. She was warm, organized, steady. She worked in event planning and used color-coded spreadsheets for everything: birthdays, recipes, even date nights. We moved in together after a year, and I proposed exactly 12 months later. No chaos, no guesswork, just us building something dependable. But nothing prepares you for betrayal, not even years of careful choices. The wedding rehearsal was at a lakefront restaurant about 40 minutes from our venue. Everything looked beautiful. Candle-lit tables, glasses catching the early evening light, laughter bouncing off the water. Her parents were there, my brother, our bridal party. Everyone was relaxed, buzzed, full of inside jokes and anticipation. Then her sister opened her mouth. It was subtle at first, just a chuckle at her glass. Then she said, "Enjoy it while you can." She's still texting Brandon. Loud enough for me to hear. Loud enough for her mom to go pale. I turned to Megan. She didn't blink. Didn't laugh it off. Didn't say a word. The air changed immediately. You know that moment when you feel like the room is still moving, but you've stopped breathing? That's exactly what it felt like. My stomach dropped through the floor. My brain scrambled for explanations, some dumb joke, a weird callback to something I didn't get. But she didn't laugh. Didn't even look surprised. Just shifted awkwardly in her seat and reached for her wine. Her mom cleared her throat. Her sister looked suddenly too pleased with herself. My brother leaned toward me like he was trying to figure out if he should intervene or wait to see how bad this would get. I didn't say anything. Not at the table. Instead, I let the night roll on. Toasts were made. Slices of cheesecake passed around. Megan kept glancing my way with that tight smile, like she was hoping I'd just let it slide. Like maybe I'd chalk it up to rehearsal nerves and keep marching toward the altar tomorrow. But I couldn't stop turning the name over in my head. Brandon. He wasn't just a random ex. He was the one. The guy who left her shattered 3 years before we met. She told me she hadn't spoken to him in years. Said he ghosted her, came back to stir things up, and ghosted her again. She'd cried telling me that story. And I believed her. Completely. So why was his name still floating around? Back home that night, Megan tried to play it normal. She brushed her teeth, put on her silk robe, sat on the edge of the bed, and talked about where we'd put the gifts after the reception. I watched her talk and felt like I was watching someone I didn't know anymore. I asked her, finally, as casually as I could, "Was your sister serious?" She looked at me. Long pause. Then, "She's always trying to mess with people. Don't let her get in your head, babe." That's all she gave me. Not even a real answer. Just a redirect. Something about it felt off. Not even defensive, just calculated. Like she was fishing for how much I knew. I didn't push it. I said goodnight and rolled over. But my mind stayed wide awake. Because here's the thing, I didn't need proof yet. Her face gave me enough. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't fear. It was indifference. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even worried. And that's when I knew. This wasn't some mistake or miscommunication. Something real was happening. Something I needed to see clearly before I walked into that ceremony and signed my life away. So while she slept next to me, breathing softly like nothing had changed, I picked up my phone, opened our shared phone plan account, and typed in one name. Brandon. It's weird how your brain starts hoping for nothing. I sat there staring at the screen, hoping there wouldn't be any messages. Hoping Megan's sister was just being petty. Hoping I'd find a clean record that would make me feel like a paranoid idiot. But the page loaded, and my stomach knotted. There it was. One number. Dozens of times. Over the last 2 weeks. Some of them were quick messages, just a few seconds apart. Some were longer, 15, 20 minutes. One on a Friday night had lasted almost an hour. Always late at night. Always when she'd told me she was getting extra planning done, or FaceTiming her cousin. I cross-checked the area code. Brandon. I still had his number saved in an old group chat Megan made years ago, back when she was showing me old photos from college, and they were on speaking terms again, just for closure. That didn't last long. She said he ghosted again, and she blocked him. Except clearly, she didn't. I didn't sleep. Not a second. I just stared at the ceiling trying to figure out what kind of person pretends to plan forever with you while texting someone she once cried over for months. What was she even saying to him? I didn't have access to the messages. Just the timestamps. But that was enough. The next morning, she acted normal again. Got up early to pack the emergency kit for the venue. Bobby pins, safety pins, Tylenol, tissues. It was all there, in a neat little box. She even added tiny sewing kits and labeled them bridesmaid emergencies. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Almost there, huh?" I nodded, pretending my brain wasn't on fire. I decided not to confront her yet. I needed more. I didn't want an argument that would get twisted into drama. I needed the full picture. So I called the best man, my older brother Nate, and asked him to meet me for coffee. Just the two of us. We met at a little cafe near the apartment. I told him everything, from the sister's comment to the call logs. I half expected him to tell me I was overreacting. He didn't. He took a sip of coffee and said, "You already know what this is. You're just hoping someone tells you you're wrong." He was right. I wasn't looking for clarity. I was looking for an excuse to ignore the truth. Nate leaned back and looked me dead in the eye. "So what are you going to do?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I walked home slowly, watching people rush past with their coffee cups and bouquets, headed somewhere joyful. I was supposed to be one of them. When I walked in, Megan was on the phone, her voice all smiles, talking about flower arrangements and the photographer's timeline. When she hung up, she looked at me and said, "We should write our vows tonight. It'll help you sleep." I nodded, then watched her grab her phone and type something quickly. She smiled at whatever came back and set it face down on the counter. I picked it up. She froze. One message on the screen. "Don't worry. After Sunday, it won't matter." Smiley face. No name attached. But I knew. I didn't say anything. I just handed the phone back. Her smile didn't come back. Instead, she looked at me. Really looked this time. And for a brief second, I saw a flicker of guilt. But it vanished just as fast. "I told you," she said softly. "It's not like I'm cheating. No apology. No explanation. Just that." And suddenly, I saw the whole thing for what it was. She didn't respect me. She didn't even feel bad. I was the fallback plan. The safe guy. The one she knew would show up on time, pay half the mortgage, and say the right vows while she texted a guy who ghosted her twice. That's when something inside me clicked. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to throw things or sleep on the couch. I was going to take this apart. Quietly, completely, and leave nothing for her to stand on. If she wanted Brandon so badly, she could explain that to her guests, and her mom, and the venue coordinator. I opened my laptop and started making a few calls. By the time she went to bed that night, I had already canceled the photographer. It started with small things. Details only I handled. I had booked most of the vendors under my name and card, my credit, my accounts, my login. We'd agreed early on to split responsibilities, but I offered to handle the paperwork. "I'm better with contracts," I told her. She didn't argue. Now that small decision was the only reason I could tear it all down before she saw it coming. I didn't speak to her the next morning. I just went through the motions, showered, helped pack some decorations, loaded up the car. She assumed I was just tired or anxious. Her smile was back. She kissed me on the cheek again, like we were still on the same team. Around noon, I went to the venue. She thought I was dropping off the sound system. I was really there to cancel the rehearsal walkthrough and get the coordinator to refund the final deposit, which was already too late for a full refund, but I didn't care. I told them the wedding was off, effective immediately. The coordinator looked stunned. She glanced down at the clipboard and said, "You're Jake, right?" "Groom." I nodded. "And you're canceling this without the bride?" I looked her in the eye and said, "She'll find out soon enough." Then I handed her the envelope. Inside was a printed copy of our contract, and a note to send the invoice, for every non-refundable charge, to Megan's mother. Because here's what she didn't know. Her mom had insisted on co-signing the vendor agreements. At the time, it seemed sweet. A gift, she'd said. Let me be part of it. Megan had loved the gesture. Now it meant she was legally responsible for $14,800 in cancellation fees. I wasn't trying to bankrupt anyone. I just wanted the truth to hit in every direction. No spin. No excuses. Just consequences, raw and clean. By the time I got home, Megan was sitting on the couch with her bridesmaids, going over some last-minute changes to their playlist. I walked past them and straight into the bedroom. Closed the door. Locked it. A minute later, she knocked. "You good?" "Yeah. Just making a few calls." She didn't push. That night, she left to sleep at her friend's house, the same friend who was supposed to help her get ready the next morning. She kissed me again on the cheek. Always the cheek. I stood there and let her do it. She asked, "Nervous?" I shook my head. "Not anymore." She smiled, walked out the door, and didn't look back. I stayed up late. Not out of panic. Not out of grief. But because I was focused. Every thread I'd been holding onto was cut now, and I was finally thinking clearly. I forwarded the email confirmations. I archived the shared wedding folder. I removed myself from the joint RSVP website. I called my brother and told him to be on standby tomorrow in case things went nuclear. Then I did one last thing. I scheduled an email blast to go out to every single wedding guest at 10:15 a.m. the next morning. It had 2 lines. There is no wedding today, but if you want to know why, ask Megan who Brandon is. No signature, no blame, just enough for people to start asking the right questions. I didn't sleep much that night, but I wasn't restless. I felt calm, like I'd already left the relationship days ago, and this was just the paperwork. The best part? She had no idea. She went to bed thinking she still had the upper hand, that I'd sulk, maybe sleep on the couch, and still show up the next morning in a tux, vowing forever to someone who'd been lying for weeks. She thought I was the safe guy, the soft landing, the backup plan. She never thought I'd walk. But I wasn't just walking. I was making sure she tripped on every lie she'd ever told on the way out. The morning of the wedding, the sky was bright. Not a cloud in sight. Perfect weather for vows, photos, first dances, and chaos. I was up early. I showered, shaved, packed a weekend bag, and left the apartment without a sound. No note. No goodbye. By 8:30 a.m., I was already 3 towns away, checking into a quiet Airbnb by the lake. My phone buzzed once, my brother Nate letting me know he'd received the group email as scheduled. Then silence. No calls from Megan yet. She was probably still having her makeup done, still sipping mimosas with her bridesmaids, still thinking she was about to be a wife in 2 hours. She had no idea the venue was closed. Because that was the part one hadn't mentioned yet, the lockout. After I canceled the bookings, I spoke with the venue coordinator directly, explained the situation in full detail. I wasn't asking for sympathy, I just wanted clarity. She agreed to have the gates closed and staff dismissed before 9 a.m. Just tell your guests not to show up, she said. I didn't. Megan had invited 86 people. I let every one of them receive that email instead. From what Nate told me later, it unraveled fast. The bridal party showed up at 9:15, confused that the parking lot was empty. Then Megan's mom arrived, already fuming after waking up to a $14,800 invoice in her inbox. Apparently, she'd been calling Megan nonstop since 7 a.m., but Megan had her phone on silent for makeup. She was still wearing her robe when her mom stormed in, holding a printed copy of the invoice and yelling loud enough for everyone in the bridal suite to hear. Did you know about this? Why is this in my name? That's when Megan finally checked her phone. She saw 34 missed calls, a flood of texts, and 1 email. From me. She opened it, read it, said nothing for about 30 seconds. Then she whispered, no, he wouldn't. But I would. I did. Guests started texting her. The groom's not here. Is this a prank? The parking lot's locked. What's going on? Megan tried to call me. Once. Twice. 5 times. She left voicemails that started calm and confused, then turned frantic. The 8th one was just her breathing. The 9th was her crying. The 10th was silence before she hung up. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I sat on the edge of the dock, feet dangling over the water, listening to the wind move through the trees. For the first time in weeks, I felt at peace. Nate called around noon. You want the play-by-play? He asked. I said, just give me the headlines. Apparently, after realizing the venue was locked and guests were leaving, Megan had a full-on meltdown. Screaming, crying, swearing up and down that she didn't do anything wrong. Her mom didn't back her up. Neither did her sister. Her friends? Mostly scattered. One bridesmaid called her an emotional landmine and got in an Uber. There was no wedding. No reception. Just an overdressed group of confused people milling around a parking lot while Megan sat on a bench in full bridal makeup, still calling my phone. My brother asked, you sure you don't want to talk to her? I said, I've already heard everything I needed. And that was true. What more was there to say? She knew she'd crossed the line. She just didn't think I'd walk away from it. She thought she could juggle both, build a life with me, keep Brandon in the background like some emotional backup generator, and hope no one ever put the pieces together. But I did. And when I did, I didn't scream or shout. I didn't key her car or throw her things out the window. I just moved the board underneath her feet and let gravity do the rest. By the time the sun started going down, I had 19 missed calls, 3 voicemails from her mom, and a single text from Megan. Please, can we talk? No, we couldn't. She already said everything when she said nothing at the table. The wedding day ended without music, without champagne, without me. But that didn't stop Megan from trying to salvage the story. By the time I turned my phone on that evening, she'd posted a long, carefully worded message on her private Instagram account, visible only to friends and family. Sometimes life throws unexpected heartbreak your way. Jake needed time to reflect on our journey, and while I'm devastated by today's events, I respect his process. Please be kind and give us space during this difficult moment. No mention of Brandon. No mention of her sister's comment. No mention of the $14,800 her mom was now legally tied to. Just enough soft lighting and carefully chosen words to make it seem like I had cold feet. My brother texted me a screenshot and said, "She's going with the sympathy angle." Of course she was. For someone who was texting another man less than 48 hours before saying, "After Sunday, it won't matter," smiley face, she suddenly looked like the abandoned bride. But here's the thing about trying to rewrite a story when too many people already know the ending. It only works if everyone keeps quiet. And her sister didn't. Turns out, the same sister who dropped the bomb at the rehearsal was furious that Megan tried to make her look like the villain. When Megan accused her of sabotaging everything, her sister replied, in a group chat that included 4 of their cousins, "You're mad I said it out loud." Not that it was true. One of those cousins forwarded it to Nate. Nate forwarded it to me. And I forwarded it to 17 of the guests who'd texted me asking what really happened. No added context. No commentary. Just the screenshot. It didn't take long before people started talking. Not online, but in private. My uncle called the next morning to say he supported my decision. A friend from college sent a message. "She really thought you'd still show up, didn't she?" Even Megan's own bridesmaid, who left early after the venue debacle, sent me a DM. She was always playing with fire. You just finally let it burn. But none of it compared to the last voicemail I got from Megan. It was around midnight. Her voice was raw, shaky, angry. "You humiliated me. You blindsided everyone. We could have handled this privately, but no, you had to make it a show. I don't even know what I did that was so unforgivable. Talking to someone I used to care about? That's your reason for blowing up our entire future? I hope you're proud of yourself." I listened to it once, then deleted it. It was never about Brandon, not entirely. It was about trust, about disrespect, about believing you're entitled to one person's loyalty while keeping someone else on the hook. I'd been careful, loyal, steady. She knew that. She counted on that. That's why she never thought I'd leave. But people like Megan don't understand quiet boundaries. They only notice consequences when they arrive dressed as invoices and locked doors. The next morning, I got a call from her mom. Straight to voicemail. Then a text. "We need to talk. About the financial situation." No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a request for cleanup. I didn't respond. A day later, her mom's lawyer emailed me, trying to challenge the invoice charges. But the contract was ironclad. Her co-signature was on every agreement. The venue coordinator and photographer both confirmed I had full authorization to cancel. I never heard from that lawyer again. By the end of the week, Megan's sympathy post had disappeared. Her page went private. Her sister, from what I heard, moved out of their shared apartment and stopped returning calls. There was no engagement, no wedding, no future. Just a woman sitting in a white dress on a bench in front of 80 confused people, dialing the man she thought would never walk away. And me? I didn't just walk. I ran toward the life I should have chosen months ago, one that didn't include someone who needed a backup plan. A week after everything blew up, I finally allowed myself to breathe. No more calls. No more texts. I'd muted every number tied to her, blocked her mom, even shut down our wedding site. It was quiet now, the kind of quiet that used to scare me. But this time it felt earned. I took a few days off work and stayed up at the lake house longer than planned. Nate visited once, brought some cold beer, and said, "You know you did the right thing, right?" I nodded, but I wasn't totally sure until 2 days later, when Megan's sister showed up at my door. Not metaphorically. She actually drove to the lake house. I saw her car pull up from the kitchen window. She got out slowly, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie, holding a manila folder under her arm. No makeup. No drama. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. She didn't ask. She stood on the porch and said, "She would have lied to you forever, you know. I only said something at the rehearsal because I thought you deserved better." I didn't reply. I just waited. She took a breath. "She wasn't planning to marry you, Jake." Not really. That hit harder than I expected. She opened the folder and handed me a single sheet of paper, folded once. I took it, unfolded it, and scanned the first lines. It was handwritten. Megan's handwriting. A journal page, maybe. At the top, "Brandon, if he says yes." The full sentence read, "If Brandon says yes before Saturday, I'll call it off. If not, I'll go through with it and figure it out later." There was more. Talk about safety, stability, and timing. A line about how I'd be a good husband, eventually. Another, "Jake loves me. He'll forgive me if I mess up. He always has." I stood there holding it for a long time. Her sister leaned against the porch railing and said, "She wrote that 3 nights before the rehearsal. I found it in the back of her planner after she left her stuff at my place. She still doesn't know it's missing." I asked why she brought it. "Because you were the only decent one in that whole mess," she said. And because she's already telling people you had commitment issues. That made me laugh for the first time in days. Her sister stayed a few more minutes. We didn't talk much more. Before she left, she looked at me and said, "You weren't her mistake. She was just never ready to be someone worth marrying." Then she got in the car and drove off. I stood there on the porch holding that paper until my hands started shaking. Then I went inside, sat at the kitchen table, and reread it slowly, word by word. It didn't hurt like I thought it would. It didn't feel like heartbreak. It felt like validation. This woman I'd nearly built my whole future around had been weighing me like a financial decision. A fallback. A maybe. And she thought I'd never figure it out because I was too nice, too predictable, too safe. But she mistook kindness for weakness. And when the moment came, she didn't expect the man she underestimated to walk away without warning and take everything with him. She underestimated my silence, my planning, the way I pay attention. And in the end, she got exactly what she deserved. No closure, no wedding, no sympathy, just a reminder that not every man sticks around to be plan B. As for me, I didn't become bitter. I didn't rush into anything else. I took time to rebuild on my own terms. Started hiking again, took solo trips, focused on work and healing and figuring out who I was without her orbit around me. And the best part? I never had to scream, never had to slam a door, never had to explain myself in a paragraph-long post on Instagram. I just stepped back and let her lies unravel without me. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.